youngster devoted an entire rainy indoors afternoon to a drawing he was doing with varied-color crayons. His mother finally looked over his shoulder and, puzzled, asked, "Who's that you are drawing, son?" The son answered, "God." "Don't be silly," reproved the mother. "Nobody knows what God looks like." Not even pausing in his task, the son announced calmly, "They will when I'm finished." After being away on business for a week before Christmas, Tom thought it would be nice to bring his wife a little gift. "How about some perfumes?" he asked the cosmetic clerk. She showed him a bottle costing $50. "That's a bit much," said Tom. So she returned with a smaller bottle for $30. "That's still quite a bit," Tom groused. Growing disgusted, the clerk brought out a tiny $15 bottle. Tom grew agitated. "What I mean," he said, "is I'd like to see something really cheap." So the clerk handed him a mirror. Three guys were fishing in a lake one day when an angel appeared in the boat. When the three astonished men had settled down enough to speak, the first guy asked the angel humbly, "I've suffered from back pain ever since I was in the Vietnam War. Could you help me?" "Of course," the angel said, and when he touched the man's back, the man felt relief for the first time in years. The second guy, who wore very thick glasses and had a hard time reading and driving, asked if the angel could do something about his poor eyesight. The angel smiled, removed the man's glasses, and tossed them into the lake. When they hit the water, the man's eyes cleared and he could see everything clearly. When the angel turned to the third guy, the guy put his hands out defensively. "Don't touch me," he cried. "I'm on a disability pension." The psychology instructor had just finished a lecture on mental health and was giving an oral test. Speaking specifically about manic depression, she asked, "How would you diagnose a patient who walks back and forth, screaming at the top of his lungs 1 minute, then sits in a chair weeping uncontrollably the next?" A young man in the rear raised his hand and answered, "A basketball coach." Prisoner: "Look, doctor, you've already removed my spleen, tonsils, adenoids, and one of my kidneys. I only came to see if you could get me out of this place." Doctor: "I am, bit by bit." A man walks into a bar and orders one shot. Then he looks into his shirt pocket and orders another shot. After he finishes, he looks into his shirt pocket again and orders another shot. The bartender is curious and asks him, "Every time you order a shot, you look in your shirt pocket. Why?" The man replies, "I have a picture of my wife in my pocket, and when she starts to look good, I go home." A guy had been feeling down for so long that he finally decided to seek the aid of a psychiatrist. He went there, lay on the couch, spilled his guts, then waited for the profound wisdom of the psychiatrist to make him feel better. The psychiatrist asked him a few questions, took some notes, then sat thinking in silence for a few minutes, with a puzzled look on his face. Suddenly, he looked up with an expression of delight and said, I think your problem is low self-esteem. It is very common among losers." A preacher goes into a bar and says, "Anybody who wants go to heaven, stand up." Everybody stands up except for a drunk in the corner. The preacher says, "My son, don't you want to go to heaven when you die?" The drunk says, "When I die? Sure. I thought you were taking a load up now." A fisherman returned to shore with a giant marlin that was bigger and heavier than him. On the way to the cleaning shed, he ran into a second fisherman who had a stringer with a dozen baby minnows. The second fisherman looked at the marlin, turned to the first fisherman and said, "Only caught one? Huh?"